Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan. Sanamgela kunalai INX Prime. Greeting you on this amazing Wednesday evening is myself, Maimoona Mabena.
And I am Zarif Minty.
And I am Nazia Wadi.
And together we are your hosts from the Tambing Five. That is my other
conversation
with an author by the name of Ruqayyah K. Muhammad, who's going to be telling us about her journey as an author, as well as owning a publishing company, as well as many, many other interesting challenges and triumphs that she has encountered through the years. I'm looking forward to that conversation.
السلام أتى يروي كل القلوب.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back, viewers at home. We have the honor of hosting Ruqayyah K. Muhammad, a remarkable individual whose life journey traverses continents, cultures, and identities. Now, Ruqayyah is a devoted servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a beacon of light in her community, a loving mother, a prolific writer, and the owner of Deep Roots Books, an indie publishing company originally hailing from the United States. Ruqayyah's path led her to South Africa, where she found love, purpose, and a profound connection to her faith. Her narrative is one of resilience, faith, and pursuits of truth in all its forms. Assalamu alaikum, Saida. Welcome to Prime Live.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm sure viewers are like, US to South Africa? Like, what? Because a lot of people are looking into going abroad and living abroad. Can you just share a bit about your journey in terms of you coming from America to South Africa and having to find new cultures, a new country, new everything?
Yes, well, I always say that South Africa is home now because, of course, home is where your heart is, and my heart is very much here in South Africa. I came to South Africa for the first time in 2003 to study. I was studying for just 1 year, study abroad experience at the University of Cape Town. And there, just as I was about to go home from the trip, I met my now husband, Sheikh Mohammed Milanzi. He was also studying at UCT. We were introduced by mutual friends who were also married, also coincidentally named Mohammed and Ruqayyah. So we met, and my father flew down immediately just to meet the brother, and everything went well, alhamdulillah. So I went back to the US for 1 year just to finish up my studies there, and then the rest, as they say, is history. So I've been here now, it'll be 20 years this year, inshallah.
Now, I want us to talk about you owning Deep Roots Books, and I feel like you encounter so many narratives and voices. I want to know from you, what inspired you to venture into publishing?
Okay. Well, I was a little girl who very much loved to read. I was one of those children where, you know, the parents didn't say, go read. They said, I think you've read enough for today. Go outside and play. And I also loved to write as a little girl. My big sister bought me my first journal as a little girl. I quickly finished that diary, bought another one. So I've had journals throughout my life. So after I moved to South Africa, journaling became kind of a therapy for me. You know, I loved South Africa. I loved my husband very much, mashallah. But it was hard to be away from home, to be, you know, a young woman coming into my own in a new environment. So I wrote a lot when I moved to South Africa. And eventually I was going through like all of my stacks of journals and reading it again, and it was helping me. So I said, you know, this could be a book. So I decided to take writing from different parts of my journal and make them into a book. So then when I decided to publish that book, I said, well, you know, I could actually publish this myself. So that was the birth of Deep Roots Books.
That is quite exciting, because I think also just having conversation with different authors, they'll tell you that through a certain experience, it allowed them to venture into being publishing houses or companies. And I'm loving to see that you actually were like, you know what, I'm a DIY kind of person. Let me DIY it through the way. And I think also living abroad, trust you me, I know the experience where you, even the little things you miss, the food, even like, you know, the traffic, if there is traffic. So this is quite exciting. Now I want us to delve into your memoir called Kayalami, which is My Home. Yes. I want us to tell us more about some of the challenges that you actually enlist in the book and the triumphs that you've experienced through the years.
Okay, Kayalami, like you said, it is a memoir. It's written in essays, in poems, in songs. So it's different types of writing, and it's reflecting on my life as an African-American Muslim woman here in South Africa. So I think that book was written in a time in my life where I was going through a lot of flux, a lot of change. You know, you're a younger woman than me. So you know the early 20s to the 30s, that age group, it can be a time of a lot of uncertainty, you know, not knowing if you took the right path. So that book is more about me discovering who I am, discovering my spirituality, discovering my family life, my community life, creating a new community here in South Africa. So it's more a book about discovery and acceptance, and of course about the differences and similarities between African Americans and South Africans. There are a lot of similarities. You know, sometimes I feel like I'm at home. You know, I am at home, but I mean I'm back home because there's so many similarities between our cultures. So it's about that.
And I think one thing you also mentioned is our love for chicken. It's something that we actually connect us because we do love our chicken.
I think that's all over Africa and the African diaspora.
Now, coming back to your other book called Wildflower, I think it's a book that consists of poetry, beautiful poetry, I must say. I want to know, like, what themes do you now delve into when it comes to Wildflower? Since Kailam, it's all about, you know, viewing the different countries and how similar they are, and just speaking about your journey. I would like to understand, what is Wildflower offering to its readers?
Okay, Wildflower, I wrote this book mostly, I turned 40 in 2022, So I think I came much more into myself in the recent years. You know, also my mother passed recently. She passed in Return to Allah in 2019. May Allah be pleased with her. So she's always been like a big influence in my life. So that was obviously a big transition as well. So I think Wildflower, the difference between Wildflower and Kyalami, or why I felt moved to even release another book, is because I feel like I'm in a very different stage in my life now, you know. I can feel the maturity, I can feel the differences. My children are getting older, and in a lot of the rooms I'm in, I'm one of the older sisters now, you know, I'm one of the aunties. It feels strange to say that, but that's who I am now. So I think just growing into that maturity, you know, learning about aging, becoming more independent, coming more into yourself. All of those themes are themes that I explore in Wildflower. And the difference is, I think Kailam is a much bigger book. It's a memoir, like we said. Wildflower, it's kind of almost like an impressionistic book. You know, it's short, it's sweet, but it's very much from the heart. So I kind of wrote it as a gift to younger sisters like yourself, like my daughters, like my nieces, and like the community members, and also to men as well, just about self-acceptance, about continuing the journey of discovery, and about maturity and growing into yourself.
Now, there's something I'm seeing, Saida, that is quite remarkable, is community development has a very significant part in your life. And I want us to tell us, in what way is that? Because, I mean, I can only imagine somebody coming to, your new home, South Africa, and being part of community development. That's something that probably people would say unheard of. Because people would be more like exploring yourself, exploring the world, but now developing a community, that is something remarkable. But I want to hear from you, what are some of the initiatives and projects that you are part of, all in the scope of community development?
Okay, inshallah. Well, community is something that's had a big impact on my life since I was a little girl. I come from a very strong community in America, particularly in Atlanta. And also we have masjids that are kind of unified throughout the whole country. So we have a very strong community. It's the community of Imam Warthuddin Muhammad. So when I came here, it was a big change not having a community to really be a part of. Alhamdulillah, like I said, my husband and I were very happy. He has a very lovely family, but just I was missing that community part of life. So sometimes I would go to the masjid, I'll be the only woman there, especially here in Joburg. It wasn't really like that in Cape Town so much, but when we moved to Joburg, it was like that. So it was something that was very important to me. And my husband and I, he's actually a sheikh and an imam. So from the very beginning of our marriage, like our first married experience, we used the money that was meant for our honeymoon, that was gifted to us for our honeymoon, to go do community development work in Mpumalanga to try to teach new Muslims. So it was something that just our marriage started off like that. And since then, we've been involved in community development in different places. And we've tried different things, we've failed, we've succeeded in different ways, we've learned a lot. But alhamdulillah, most recently, we run Falak Islamic Community, which is in Don Park in Boksburg. And so we have a masjid, we have a madrasa and tutoring program for the children. We run programs, we run events, we have outings. So it's something that's really important to me. It's important for me to see my children raised in a community. And it's important for me as a person to be part of that. So I'm so pleased that I'm able to assist my husband with that endeavor and all of our community members, mashallah.
I feel like you're someone who's all about giving yourself, be it through your experiences, be it through the hard work that you're doing in terms of community development you and your husband are doing. I want to know from you, being a mother, being so, I mean, you hold so many hats. How do you balance that, and how does that, like, how do you find that balance that, you know, benefits you both personally as well as professionally?
Oh, mashallah, that's a good question. I think the first thing that I would say is to rely on Allah. That's the that's without Allah, I wouldn't be able to do anything that I do. So that's the very first thing, to have a real and intimate relationship with Allah. He will guide you, He will assist you, He will strengthen you through all of the hats that you have to wear. But just having a strong family, making it a priority to build that family structure, and along with the community structure. I really don't think living in the modern world is something that you can do alone in any way. You need that community support to be able to even accomplish any of the goals that you have. So family, community, Allah, and trying to stay very much grounded and connected to your own spirit. That all helps. Yeah.
Now, there's something else outstanding that I read from your bio. You mentioned your passionate desire to share light in dark places and inspire others to stand in their truth. Yes. Now, for someone who's still trying to make sense of what that is, or navigating this world that is fast-paced and always confusing, what words of advice you would impart this evening?
I would say, again, I can't stop going back to having an intimate relationship with Allah. I can't also emphasize enough the importance of knowing who you are, knowing where your path takes you. You know, for me, I want to go back to the idea of having a journal. That's something that I always encourage other people to do, whether you want to publish it one day and let the whole world see it or not, but just staying in touch with your heart, you know, checking in with yourself, and just being others-centered. That's all very important.
Now, speaking to a remarkable author as well as a owner of a publishing company, what's on the horizon for you? We're talking like future projects, initiatives that you will share, and most importantly, where can viewers at home get a copy of either of your books?
Okay. Well, I'm going to continue with our publishing house, which is Deep Roots Books. We've published 7 books now, mashallah. We have children's books now. We have also lesson plan books, as well as my own book and my husband's book. There's a book that he published recently. It's called The Meaning of Ramadan. So I want to continue to expand our titles, inshallah. And also, I do editing through my publishing house. So I want to continue with the freelance editing. So, you know, I edit theses, I edit dissertations, I can do newspaper articles, those types of things. So that's something I really enjoy and that I want to expand. And you can find Deep Roots Books across social media. Everywhere we're at Deep Roots Books, one word. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We have a website, www.deeprootsbooks.com. So I'd love to see everyone online.
And buying those books so they can navigate all the, the experiences life has to offer. And I think it's always nice when you're reading through a book of someone telling their story on how they went through something. It makes you not to feel completely alone. But Saida, jazakallah so much for joining us this evening. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we would have loved to have you and talk many, many things about, growing into the beautiful 40s. As they say, life begins at 40. But we're wishing you nothing but the best. Jazakallah so much for joining us.
Jazakallah khairan. I really appreciated being here.
Viewers at home, that was our author, Saida Ruqayyah K. Muhammad, who's actually also an owner of a publishing company. Now, as you heard from her, it's all about having Allah, community, and a beautiful support system that you need to develop so that you can navigate all the many hats that you would like to wear. And make sure you do contact them through their socials so you can get yourself a copy of either the memoir or the poetry book, Wildlife, or even all of it. Who knows? But on that note, let's close it off to an ad break. See you when we come back.